Good morning, boys and girls. It's Miss Latham here, ready to do writing. I would like for you to grab your whiteboard and your marker for a little word work lesson before we get started on our writing. We're going to continue working on silent E. I like to call it magic E. And we're going to change those short vowels to a long vowel. So you know if it's short, it's going to say a, I, or Okay, those are my short vowels. If we have the magic E on the end, it makes the vowel say its name. So it says A, E, I, O, or U. Okay, the first word we're going to write is mad. Ad. I want you to push and write that word. Mad. Mad. Now, we're going to put that magical E on the end of that word. And remember, I mark it out because it's silent. It doesn't do anything. The only thing it does is it's going to make this A go from A to A. So now what's my word? Aid. Made. Very good. Okay, erase your board. We're going to do another one. All right. The next word that we're going to write is men. Okay, men. 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 All right, we're going to use our magical E. Put it on the end. You add your E, and it's going to make that I say I. Now, what's our new word? Mine. Mine. You got it. Great job. All right, put your whiteboard away. You're not going to need it until tomorrow with me. So I'm going to introduce you to a new book today, and it's hilarious. It's called Hooray for Wadney Watt. Now, Wadney Watt is supposed to be Rodney Rat. He has a little speech issue. He can't say his R's right. So all of his R's sound like W's. And he gets kind of made fun of at school for a little bit until something happens, and then he becomes everybody's best friend. So today we are going to do a little bit of predicting. I am going to show you a few of the pages, but not all of them, okay? Away for Wadney Watt. This is such a funny book. Poor Wadney. Wadney Watt. His real name was Rodney Rat, but he couldn't pronounce his R's. To make matters worse, he was a rodent, a wodent. He couldn't say rodent, so he would say wodent. What's your name, Wadney? Asked the other rodents. Wadney Watt, whispered Wadney. What's another name for bunny? They asked knowingly. Wabbit, he mumbled. How does a train travel? They winked at each other. A twain travels on the twain tracks. Wadney replied miserably. Poor Wadney. All of this teasing day in and day out made Wadney the shyest rodent in his elementary school. His squeak could barely be heard in class. He gnawed his lunch alone. And while the other rodents scurried and scooted about at recess, Wadney hid inside his jacket. That makes me want to cry. I don't like him being sad like that. Oh. Then one day the rodents were taking turns doing wheelies. A new rodent, a very large rodent, barged into the classroom and announced, "My name is Camilla Capybara. I'm bigger than any of you. I'm meaner than any of you, and I'm smarter than any of you." And then she added, "So there." With that, she accidentally on purpose elbowed an ear, bumped two noses, stepped on three tails, and laid down on a desk. Fur prickled in fear through the classroom. She sure was bigger than any of them. She sure looked meaner than any of them. Was she smarter than any of them? What's 2 plus 2? Asked Mrs. Fuzzleworth. 4, shouted Camilla Capybara without even bothering to raise her paw. And furthermore, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 243 plus 125 is 368. Later, when Mrs. Fuzzleworth asked, "What's the capital of?" Camilla interrupted. New York, Albany, population 295,594. Entering science in an answer to a question, what part of the plant is below the ground? Camilla Capybara danced on her desk and sang, root, root, rooty toot toot. Yep, thought all the other students. She's smarter than we are too. They felt very, very uncomfortable. Every afternoon, just before the final recess, Mrs. Fuzzleworth drew a name from her hat to see who would be the leader for their favorite game, Simon Says. She scrunched her eyes closed and jiggled the hat. Would it be Hairy Hamster, Many Feet Mouse, Grizzlefizz Guinea Pig? Could it be Mean, Smart Camilla Capybara? Mrs. Fuzzleworth's paw reached in and pulled out the name of Wadney Wet. The bell rang. There was a wild scurry for the door, and Camilla Capybara was the first one on the playground, having trampled the others in her path. To Wadney, she looked especially scary. What would she do when she heard him speak? Breathe, Capybara, breathe in his face. Or tie him up in his own tail, or even pounce on him. The tiny, trembling leader of the game stood before the eager players, his head well inside of his jacket, and he squeaked, Wadney Says, weed the sign. While the other rodents read P.S. 142 Elementary School for Rodents, Camilla began pulling the weeds around the sign. So he meant read the sign. She thought he meant weed the sign, pull the weeds, wildly flinging them hither and yon till she was clear up to her teeth in dirt. The other rodents began to smile. Wadney Says, whap your paws around your head. He peeked a little peek out of his jacket and saw, whap, whap, whappity, slappity, slap. Camilla was whapping her paws around her head so hard she became dizzy, giving herself a headache, and had to sit down. The other rodents couldn't help giggling. She meant wrap your paws around your head, not whap. Wadney Says, play wing around the wosy. Camilla put her arms out like wings and made an airplane noise. But where was the wosy? What's a wosy? By now, Wadney's voice was stronger and his head was entirely out of his jacket. Wake the leaves. Nobody moved. Wadney Says, wake the leaves. While Hairy, Minifit, and Grizzlefizz and the others busied themselves raking, Camilla Capybara grabbed one leaf. Wake up, she yelled. Instead of rake the leaves, she tried to wake up a leaf. That is what your prediction is going to be today. So you are going to get a piece of paper and you're going to draw a picture of Camilla trying to wake up the leaf. And you're going to write a sentence about it. So you can say, Camilla tried to wake up the leaf, or she tried to wake up the leaf. Make sure that you're using, your sounds chart. Make sure that you're using your capital letter, your finger spaces, and your ending punctuation. Remember, in kindergarten, we don't want your words to be spelled correctly necessarily. We want you to use your sounds charts to push those words, okay? Make sure you upload it into your Google Slides. See you later.